Yu Yu Hakusho is finally getting serious. Now listen, I'm not saying that it wasn't good before or up until now it hasn't really hit like that, because it's definitely had a great start, but knowing what's gonna happen from here on out and the people we're gonna get introduced to starting this episode, it's about to get on a whole nother level. Now we start this string of episodes off with our main character, of course, Yusuke. He's on his way to school, or more like in the process of skipping it, when we see somebody trailing him from the houses above. Finally, Yusuke realizes, and the mysterious figure confronts him head on. As Yusuke comes to a stop, we see it's Hiei. Yusuke like, hey, my nigga Hiei, man, what's happening? But as we know, Hiei's not really the friendly type. He's only here in order to deliver a message from Kuwabara. Yusuke realizes that it's kind of strange for Hiei to be the one delivering it. Normally that's Botan's job, but for some reason, Hiei is the delivery boy on this one. Yusuke asks what's inside, but he doesn't even know. As he makes his leave, Yusuke hears the school bells ring, and so he's gotta dart to class knowing that he's late now. But Hiei's still keeping a close eye on Yusuke. Then we get a view of Spirit World, or Kuwabara more specifically. He's talking with Kurama about Hiei. Kurama asks if he thinks that Hiei will, quote unquote, find out, and Kuwabara sure hopes not. We don't get to know what they're talking about exactly, but Kuwabara thinks that Hiei might suspect something's going on, but Kurama doesn't think he'll end up looking into it himself. He's just gonna let it be. Over in Yusuke's class, Kuwabara walks right in, and of course, he's there waiting for him. He tells him that he's got this cassette tape from Spirit World and needs to use Kuwabara's VCR in order to watch it, since his is no good. Instantly, Kuwabara denies. He refuses to get into any more spirit detective shenanigans with Yusuke because it almost got him killed last time. Remember, versus the Saint Beast, he damn near got packed up on a multitude of times. He almost died. He said he even had a dream last night that Yusuke pulled up asking him to go, and the answer was no. 1,000 times over, no, 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 not a chance. Before Yusuke can even rebuttal and try and convince him or whatever, Keiko pops up, starting to get on him about bringing cassette tapes to school. She knows he bring videos to school, it's gonna be a detention. They don't play like that. Yusuke starts to hide the tape from her because he doesn't like involving Keiko with this whole spirit detective shit in the first place. But if you remember in the last case, he promised Keiko that he would let her know the next time he goes out on a mission. So he ends up explaining to her that this tape is from Spirit World and it's most likely his next case. As he's looking at her to see how she's gonna react, she has no clue what this man is talking about. She's never heard of Spirit World or the term spirit detective in general. Now Yusuke is confused because Botan was supposed to explain to her this whole spirit detective situation, but then Keiko finally remembers. She's like, oh yeah, Botan explained that you're some intern at a detective company, right? So Spirit World must be the agency that you work at. Obviously, Botan lied about the details because humans can't know about the spirit world, but Yusuke didn't know that, and now he looks goofy. Later on that day, we see Yusuke getting into it with Botan, mad at that little explanation that she gave to Keiko without filling him in on it. It made him look dumb, made him look stupid, made him look, you feel me? But more importantly, they're both there with Kuwabara, sitting in front of this VCR. Of course, they're getting ready to watch this tape that Yusuke got. Before Kuwabara presses play, he gives Yusuke one final warning, that no matter what shows up on the screen, he swears he's not getting involved. He's for real done with it. Yusuke doesn't really care. He's just trying to see what's on the tape. He'll go about it alone, go with Botan, go with somebody. It don't gotta be Kuwabara. So Kuwabara goes ahead and presses play. Before we even able to get into it, why do Kuwabara got this little intro to his video? He is not Pixar, bruh. We know it's your video, bruh. Especially because the first frame of the video, his big ass head pop up on the screen. But anyways, he start breaking down that he's got another mission for Yusuke. This is Kuwabara's first time seeing Kuwabara, and he can't believe that this is actually who Yusuke is taking orders from, is getting his missions from, who he has to obey and follow, whatever. Kuwabara gives a notice that they don't have to worry about anybody entering the room and being exposed to this info from Spirit World. This video will automatically appear as static to anybody who doesn't have especially heightened spirit awareness. And conveniently, Kuwabara's sister, Shizuru, walks in at the same time that he's saying this. We get to see this forest / mountain range type of area, which is actually where our captive is being held. This is a base for criminal activity. Normally, Kuwabara wouldn't really deal with this because it's not really his place to interfere with regular human interactions, but the criminal mastermind here has made ties with some very dangerous demons in order to capture this ice apparition named Yukina. The reason that they captured her in the first place is her ability to create these gems through her tears, which are very expensive on the black market. They're keeping her captive and torturing her in order to produce these gems at an insane rate and make a shit ton of profit. It's always about money, bro. The mastermind behind the entire operation, a man named Tarukane. Koema says to take a look at Yukina and remember the face extremely well. It's important that they retrieve her from the criminal's hands and bring her back to safety. All of a sudden, Kuwabara stands up, trembling. As he looks over, his face is all red. Yusuke don't got a clue what's going on, but Kuwabara says he thinks he's in love. He's ready to go and save her right now. But Yusuke's like, bro, I thought you wasn't going. I thought you swore up and down 1,000 times over. No, not a chance. What happened? But Kuwabara's not even trying to get into it. He says his queen is in distress and it's his job in order to go and save her. Finally, as he turns around, they all notice Shizuru standing there. They're trying to hide the fact that the conversation they were having, going what Koema said, like, oh yeah, we was just, you feel me? We was just watching static. We was just chilling. But Shizuru's seen everything. From Koema to Yukina to Tarukane, she's seen it all. Botan's like, damn. High spirit awareness must run in the family. First Kuwabara, now her. But regardless, Kuwabara asks her for some money for the bus fare over to the mountain range as he gets some and dashes out the house. He didn't get any type of directions or instructions on how to get there, he just dipped. Over at Tarukane's mansion in the mountain range, he steps out talking to one of his butlers. He's trying to figure out if Yukina has cried yet. But the butler admits that they've been having trouble getting her to produce any type of gems. He says it seems like she stripped herself of all emotions. Tarukane starts talking shit about her and just women in general. He's one of those, saying that's the reason that he brought in these professionals. Out from the helicopter that Tarukane came from, walks down these two figures. These are the Toguro brothers, the leaders of the apparition gang, known for capturing and selling demons. The butlers are already shocked just by seeing these two. Younger Toguro says not to worry. He has no doubt that they'll make her cry, with this little grin on his face. Inside of Yukina's prison tower, she's talking to these birds who tend to flock to her, wishing that she could just have some wings and fly away from this place too. She warns them to leave as only danger comes from being around her. Suddenly, the door opens as Yukina begins to use her power in order to freeze the room. Of course, it's Tarukane, accompanied by the Toguro brothers. As they walk up to her, she's staring at the wall, not even acknowledging them by giving them a look when they came in. Toguro quickly slices underneath her eye, but she has no reaction. He sits there thinking for a second when out of nowhere, the birds come flying back from the tower. This is where Yukina folds. She stands up, screaming for them to stay away, as the older Toguro brother stretches out his arm in order to capture and strangle both of them. She runs up to the Toguro brothers, begging them not to, but the younger one smacks her to the ground as Big Bro offs the two birds right in front of her. Not being able to control herself, she bursts out into tears as Tarukane just looks on with this ugly ass look on his face. He picks up the gems and walks out as Toguro gives Yukina a word of advice. He thinks she should make this whole process easier on herself and practice how to cry on command. Finally, the gang arrives at Tarukane's mansion. As they start heading in, we see a statue being used as a camera in order to spot for intruders. Inside the mansion, Tarukane is going on and on about how much money he's gonna make with these gems, and even though the Toguro brothers were pricey, they get the job done and they do it quick. It's completely worth it. Then he gets word from one of his butlers that there are intruders. With no hesitation, he's like, get them killed, kill them, off them, they're done for. But Toguro stops him, asking Tarukane to grant them one favor, to let his demons, his own apparition gang, take care of the intruders instead. Yusuke, Kuwabara, and Botan are trying to find their way through the forest to get to the mansion, but it seems like they're lost. Kuwabara is still full of energy. He's trying to hurry him up and keep him on pace when Botan asks Yusuke if they should tell him about the rest of the video. Apparently, at Kuwabara's house, he was so quick to leave that he didn't even get to finish the full video. Koema went on to give more information about Yukina and why it's so imperative that they save her. You see, Yukina's not just any apparition, but she's also Hiei's sister. If Yukina ends up dying in the hands of Tarukane, not even Koema will know how to stop Hiei and the wrath that he'll spread across Earth. As they keep making their way towards the mansion, Kuwabara finally stops, saying that he senses something really bad. Out of nowhere, this man walks up, demanding that they leave immediately. Of course, they not going nowhere, but he begins to power up and turns from his human form into his demon form. I'm not gonna lie, his human form was way swaggier, bro. I felt like he definitely could have put up a serious fight, but after turning into this, He just look like he ready to get packed up. He don't even look like he's going like he's really gonna pose a threat for real. But before they even get to fighting, they get into it about him defending these humans. They think it's kind of backwards that a demon is protecting humans that are torturing another demon. Somehow down the line they should all be like related, right? But he says he doesn't really care. Just as there are humans who will sell their soul for money and power, demons will do the exact same thing. They both call him weak-minded and stupid for that as he starts to really get angry. He jumps into the air, getting ready to launch his attack, but Kuwabara pulls out his spirit sword, slicing bro up into a million pieces when Yusuke uses his spirit shotgun, obliterating bro into even more pieces, into disintegration, into dust. He's done for. Back at the mansion, Toguro says that something real strange is going on. Teruke is trying to figure out what's up when Toguro explains that Hiei, the demon that he sent to go take care of the mansion's intruders, is now dead. Teruke naturally is getting upset. He's questioning the strength of these demons that they're sending out there, but Toguro's like, don't play with me, bruh. My men are not weak at all. These intruders must really just be something. But Teruke is not going for that. He's still not fully convinced about their strength, saying that they can't expect to be paid if they can't handle the job. Toguro's like, trust me, bruh, it'll be fine. But Teruke still not budging. He said he not the type of man to be satisfied just by cheap talk. Instead, Toguro's gonna have to prove it. They end up walking into the basement of the mansion where we get to see Teruke's collection of demons. They walk up to the biggest and baddest one there, a human creation which Teruke named Helen. Scientists tried to turn her into this weapon of mass destruction, but they couldn't handle her, they couldn't control her, so Teruke was able to buy her at a good price. He says that in order to prove himself, he wants Toguro to kill her with his bare hands. We get to see a bit of Teruke's thoughts. He's thinking that Toguro is actually strong enough to defeat the intruders, but he knows he's not going to be able to take on Helen. So he'll be able to use that fact as a reason to drop down the price, saving him a little extra money. After thinking about it, Toguro says he doesn't feel like killing Helen. And at this point, Teruke thinks he's won. But we hear some beeps on the door pad as Toguro walks in, saying, but of course, in this line of work, I must do many things that I do not feel like doing, as he takes his coat off, looking at her. 30%. Yeah, that should be enough. He begins to power up, physically getting bigger. He explains that he's not a very talented apparition. The only thing that he could do is change the size of his muscles. As Helen rushes him and attacks him, he's not phased at all. It just destroys the floor underneath him as he looks Helen dead in the eye. He asks her not to blame him, but the science that created her and a human that's making him do this. He punches her once and rips her body completely apart as blood splatters everywhere. He calmly turns around, saying that not even the best of jobs justify killing so cruelly in the way that he just did. He apologizes to the creature for doing so. Teruke is having a blast with this. He's amazed with what he just saw. He's not even worried about paying the full price no more. Now, he's more interested in hiring Toguro as his bodyguard. Then, he tells the butler to get on the phone with, quote unquote, the Black Club. Nah, bro, this is crazy, bro. This is crazy. I'm not even gonna do it to you, bro. I'm gonna have to do it the Black Club, the BC. You know what I'm saying? We can't. He tells the butler to get the Black Club together in order to place a wager with them. He says that he's got the fight of the century, the Toguro brothers versus these intruders. And since he's the only one who's aware of Toguro's true powers, he's at the advantage. Toguro's like, it's not exactly honorable cheating your friends, but that's the last thing Toguro's worried about. He's like, shit, when you stink like me, all you can do is spread your rot around. This dude is straight scum. We get another view of Yukina, and she's going through it. Not only because of the incident earlier, but because these birds are still all flocking to her. She knows that if they stay, they'll only be killed, and it's even worse because she knows that she'll have their blood on her hands. She's finally able to shoo them away, begging them not to come back, saying nobody should come near her anymore. Back in the forest, Botan ends up getting caught by a tripwire, finding herself stuck in this spider web. But pretty easily, Kuwabara and Yusuke end up saving her by slicing up these webs and killing the spider who was going to eat her with this spirit energy infused punch from Yusuke. Kawema, up in Spirit World, is watching this all go down from his TV, when all of a sudden, Kurama walks back in. He asks if he's found Hiei yet, but he says he's had no luck. Kurama's confident that it shouldn't be a problem. He's sure that Hiei would work with Yusuke if they happen to run into each other, since they have a common goal. But Koema says that if Hiei does find out about Yukina and decides to take matters into his own hands, he'll ignore what Yusuke does, and it's very likely that he'd kill everybody in the mansion in order to get to her. All the demons, all the humans, all the pets, everything. And even though he may have good reason, it's strictly forbidden for him to take human life. and if he does, then both he and Kurama would need to be punished accordingly. Over on Earth, Hiei's looking over the gang as they settle down for the night, and he ends up falling asleep too. In his dream, he gets a flashback of when he first got his Jigana. It was an extremely painful procedure, to the point where the magician took the precaution of tying Hiei's hands down to the table so he wouldn't rip his eyes out during the infusion. But as the procedure's going on, he suddenly starts getting visions of Yukina, causing him to wake up screaming her name, conveniently around the same time that the gang's waking up. But before they can even realize where the sound's coming from, Hiei dips out. Back in the mansion, we get to meet the Black Club, founded by Tarukane himself. All filthy rich criminal masterminds, running their own independent operations, but sometimes they meet together for things like this. Now Tarukane explains the situation. There's intruders heading towards his base, and he wants to host bets as to whether they will win or his security from the apparition gang will win. And on top of that, he's promising to double the amount of the winner's set bets. They're all kind of confused as to why Tarukane's holding these bets in the first place. They just look like some little kids. Of course they lose to the apparition gang's demons. The first wager is the intruders versus the horde of demons waiting for him outside the tower. So of course, they all start putting hundreds of millions of dollars on these demons to win. Tarukane, hearing all these bets, hits this little devious grin off to the side as we get a flashback to a conversation he had with younger Toguro earlier. Toguro said that word has been getting around about these two young boys who are going around defeating extremely strong demons. He's heard that they've defeated the ability stealing Rando and even the Saint Beast, all of them crazy strong demons. Toguro knows that if these rumors are true, then they'll 100% beat these bottom level demons of the apparition gang, so Tarukane knows the outcome of these fights already. So far, everybody in the Black Club has placed their bets, except for one, a man named Sakyo. Tarukane is thinking that Sakyo's getting cold feet, but actually it's quite the opposite. He starts out by putting 5 billion on the intruders, not only making him the only one to bet on the intruders, but by far he's wagered the highest amount. He explained that he's heard these rumors of these two boys defeating demons, and he's willing to take the risk that these two are them. This is the same info that Tarukane had from Toguro, and he's hot that Sakyo knew about it beforehand. But he just determines that he'll have to hustle him even harder in the next round. Suddenly, Toguro's surprised by something as he tells Tarukane that half of his men's spirit energy just disappeared out of nowhere, saying that these intruders are even more impressive than he thought. Out with the gang, Yusuke is wondering why he even bother sending all these wimpy demons out to be security, as out of nowhere, Kuwabara puts on this headband, which he dubs the Great Fighting Headband of Love, as he charges the next group of the horde that's trying to stop him. He slices the first two up, but Yusuke pops out, not wanting Kuwabara to get all the credit. As he runs up, taking out some of them on his own, he finishes it off by killing the biggest demon out of the group, and we get to see back at the Black Club meeting, Tarukane now owes Sakyo 10 billion, since he promised to double the wager, and Sakyo won. Everybody else is kinda upset that they lost so quickly at that. They never expected these intruders to be so strong, but at the end of the day, they're all filthy rich, so a couple $100 million isn't too much for them. They're wondering if they should just bet on the intruders for the next round, since they're not so strong, or maybe the apparition gang isn't as strong as the rumors say they are. But Tarukane tells them not to get too ahead of themselves, since the next round, the demons are going to be on a whole nother level. There's going to be a group of 3 extremely powerful demons called the Triad. As soon as he says that, they're all amazed, haven't heard of the Triad before. They're known to be some of the toughest out there, and they start instantly betting on them, going from originally $1 to $200 million bets up to like $500 million bets. They got full faith in the Triad, but breaking the cycle, just like the last round, Sakyo bets 20 billion on the intruders. They're all thinking he's insane and just doesn't know when to quit. And even a member of the Triad herself is mad that he's betting against them, but randomly outside, there's a ton of explosions. They're trying to figure out what's going on out there. It sounds like a battlefield, when Tarukane says that they probably just triggered his round of trip mines. Outside, Botan went to do some scouting on her flying broom, trying to find Yukina, but is now rushing to find Yusuke and Kuwabara, wondering if they're okay. But out the flames walks my niggas, probably in the most fire moment I've seen since the show started. Kuwabara and Yusuke are ready for that action. As they enter the mansion, the first member of the Triad pops out, a demon named Miyuki. She's trying to figure out who she's gonna fight first, but Kuwabara is not going. He says that it goes against his code to fight a girl. He tells Yusuke just to ignore her and let's walk past him. But Miyuki's like, another insecure male trying to own his woman, huh? Which throws Kuwabara all the way off. He says he don't know nothing about what she's talking about. All he knows is that guys don't fight girls. But out the cut, Yusuke pops up saying that he'll fight her. Kuwabara like, nah man, that ain't that ain't it, big bro. You can't put the hands on her, bro. I'm not gonna allow it. But Yusuke says he don't care who it is. It could be a girl, it could be a baby, shit, it could be his grandma. If she's in the way and she's a fighter, he's gonna put the dukes on her. As she squares up, Yusuke runs up at the same time and they clash midair. But when she comes to the ground, she's holding herself, calling him a little perv. It's pretty clear to see what Yusuke did during a little mid-air clash. He says that now she's got no chance of winning this fight as she tells him to shut up, charging with the rope drawn from her hair. He's able to dodge the first attack, but soon after, he gets caught by it around the neck. Kuwabara is just now realizing what Yusuke did during their little clash, saying he probably deserves to be getting choked right now. He's not rocking with the indecency from his mans. Old girl jumps through the roof and starts pulling Yusuke from the lock of hair that she pulled out. But then Yusuke starts to swing back and forth, eventually breaking through the ceiling that she's standing from, rushing her down, putting her hands on her. He kicks her through the ceiling, back down to the ground, finally punching her, sending her flying back. But now Kuwabara and Yusuke start going back and forth mid-fight. Kuwabara saying that he's not allowed to hit her like this. When she runs up on him from behind, he kicks her through a wall. Kuwabara starts getting even more upset, saying that even if they are both fighters, he doesn't have to be going so hard, kicking her through walls, punching her through ceilings and shit. He could kind of take it easier on her since she's a girl. And at this point, Yusuke's fed up with Kuwabara's bickering as he starts to explain that old girl over here isn't exactly who he thinks. He says that during that clash, when he copped a feel, he said not everything felt correct up top. So he took the liberty of checking down below. This man Yusuke is insane, bro. Don't do this shit at home. But basically, Yusuke says the family jewels is still down there. And after pointing it out, Miyuki starts to play victim, saying that they probably think she's all weird and don't want to fight or even get near her because they don't want her to rub off on them. But Yusuke doesn't care about none of that. He grabs her, telling her pretty much to shut the hell up, saying that nobody cares, as he launches her across the room, cracking the wall with her head, saying that he's fighting her solely because she's in the way of them saving that girl. It's got nothing to do with anything else except for that. Out the cut, they see a camera hone in on them as they all start making fun of him, saying that shit, 2 more of the Triad and they gonna be on their way to kick the mastermind's ass. Over with the Black Club, they're all shocked that these intruders keep on winning. But Sakyo is just focused on his cash. Out with Yukina, we see her sitting in solitude, and somehow, still in the forest, he is making his way over to the mansion. As he sees it snowing, he gets flashbacks to Yukina playing in the snow as a child. She's always been close with animals, specifically the birds, just as she is today. But we get to see that for some reason, Hiei never makes himself known to her. He always runs before she can find him. She doesn't even know that she has a brother. Back inside the mansion, the gang's trying to make their way through when suddenly Kuwabara pushes him out the way and a slight beam of energy becomes visible, chopping Kuwabara's headband off. Out comes the second member of the Triad, in Maki. Kuwabara picks up his great fighting headband of love, pissed off that it's just been destroyed. He rushes at Maki, but suddenly he turns invisible and attacks from all directions. Yusuke's there asking if Kuwabara can sense where he's attacking from, but he says nah, and Maki's moving way too fast for him to tell. Suddenly, he attacks Yusuke and everybody starts to run. And Maki starts to chase after him when Yusuke tells Botan to hit this corner right quick. As soon as they do, and Maki thinks that he's got him, but as soon as he turns the corner, we see Yusuke readying up his spirit shotgun, sending it out in that direction. Since he knew that's where Maki was going to be coming from, it was pretty much no chance that he wouldn't get hit. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this probably was the weakest fight I've seen in the show so far. It was dead like a minute and a half in the show, 2 minutes. That's how you know Buddy was weak. It wasn't even no time to put filler in there. But out of nowhere, a hand breaks through the wall, grabbing Botan and hanging her up right in front of him. He introduces himself as the third member of the Triad, Goku Monkey. What kind of names is these, bro? Goku Monkey, Goku Monkey, Goku Monkey. Let me chill. Yusuke's like, I appreciate the introduction. I'll make sure to write it on your gravestone, as he charges up his spirit gun. But bro saying, you better be careful with that or else you might hit your friend. This big ass monster is using Botan as a human shield. That's dead crazy. And honestly, no offense to my dog, but why is Botan even here? She don't got no hands like that. She don't even really got no intel. She's honestly just a liability when facing against all of these demons. She's just somebody that they now have to protect. But anyways, Goku swings his big ass barbarian club, just barely missing the 2 of them, but smashing through the ground. Kuwabara pulls out his spirit sword, but when he attacks, it dissipates into nothing. Yusuke's like, bro, what the f was that? That was trash. But Kuwabara says he must have held back a little too much, afraid that he was gonna hit Botan. When Goku hits Kuwabara, he gets sent flying across the hallway. For some reason, he's bragging at the fact that they're too afraid to hit him because he's holding a hostage. You know how weak that sounds? He starts preparing to really start attacking with all his force when Yusuke gets an idea. He tells Botan to raise her arms. She don't really understand why, but not having any other plans, she does. Botan slips right out of her jacket and runs to safety. This man was holding her up by her jacket the entire time, not by her arm, not by her shirt, the only piece of clothing she could easily take off. But nonetheless, she was able to get free with ease. Now, not having to worry about attacking a friend, Yusuke and Kuwabara hit Buddy with a tag team kick, knocking him out for good. That's all 3 members of the Triad defeated. Back with the Black Club, Toguro never imagined that the intruders would be so strong. And the rest of the club is starting to figure out that Sakio must have the best luck in the world, so they're just deciding to follow whatever he says. Who knows how much Toguro owes Sakio at this point, but he tells him that there's only one final bet of the night: the intruders versus the Toguro brothers. He's thinking that they're gonna bet on the intruders because of how well they've been doing recently, but he's the only one who knows the Toguro brothers' true power, so it's pretty much free money for him. He asks Sakio directly how much he's gonna gamble, when Sakio thinks about it and says 66,200,000,000 on the intruders. This man Toguro cannot believe what he just said, and neither can anybody else from the Black Club. They all thinking he's bugging, he's tripping. It's more money than any singular country has in general. He doubles down, saying 66,200,000,000, saying that including Yukina, the creator of those gems, that should be exactly how much money Togoro's net worth should be. The rest of the club starts thinking about it, realizing that he's right. He would have to liquidate all of his assets, but he would be able to pay it off, so Toguro has to honor the bet. Everybody else in the club agrees not to gamble on this fight. They just want to watch as one of them lose all of their money to the other. Nervously, Toguro accepts, sending the Toguro brothers into battle. Back with the gang, they're saying that they defeated the Triad now, so all they gotta do is defeat Toguro and they'll be good. But suddenly, Botan's spirit detecting watch starts going off crazy, and Kuwabara says he can just feel it in his heart. They're transporting Yukina somewhere. He starts to try and contact her telepathically, and somehow, some way, this man is actually able to get in touch with her, bro. What kind of crazy plot armor powers do this man Kuwabara have? Since when was telepathic communication even available? But anyways, she's being transported by the Toguro brothers and some bodyguards right now. She's asking who's even talking to her right now, and Kuwabara introduces himself as her knight in shining armor. She's begging him to leave, saying that anybody who comes near her is going to be killed. She's telling him they've hired these terrible bodyguards to stay by her side, but Kuwabara has no clue who she's talking about. The only info that they've had was on the Triad, and he knows that they've already defeated them, so he's not really worried about anything. They all begin to run, following where Kuwabara's heart is telling them to go, confident that he's got a lock on her exact location. Suddenly, outside the mansion, Hiei's finally made it there, when he suddenly gets this feeling, this vision of the Toguro brothers, absolutely terrified that they're there. He's even more worried about Yukina now as he rushes in to go save her. The gang's running through the basement when they finally reach a door, entering this room, which turns out to be their battlefield. Standing across from them are the Toguro brothers, their next and final fight. Seeing Yusuke face off against the Toguro brothers, Koema over in Spirit World is not confident in my boy's chances at beating them. He said that he's only seen them fight once a very long time ago, but judging from all the way back then, Yusuke doesn't have a chance. He's got his trouble set out for him. But in the room, Kuwabara says he doesn't feel any spirit energy coming from the both of them, so he doesn't feel like they're strong at all. But before Kuwabara could do anything too hasty, Yusuke tells him to chill out for a second because he feels something big in the room. He can't exactly explain what it is, but it's nothing good. Younger Toguro just smiles, asking Big Bro if he's ready. Suddenly, he hops off of his back and starts transforming into a sword for the younger Toguro to use. He explains that this is his ability, but as for his own, he just powers up and shows him. His spirit energy begins to surround them, increasing his own personal strength and turning his brother indestructible. Yusuke tells Botan to step back, but before she can even move, Toguro rushes him down, slashing through the ground, just barely grazing their shirts. As Kuwabara pulls out his spirit sword, Toguro pulls up on him, saying that he's way too slow as they start clashing. But as they clash and struggle for a bit, Toguro throws a punch at Kuwabara's gut, sending him flying to the wall. But turns out, Kuwabara is able to get back up and maintain standing, because right before the punch, he stepped back just enough to avoid a fatal blow. Toguro gives him a little bit of props, saying that he didn't even expect Kuwabara to have that much intellect. He begins to ready up another attack, saying that now it's time to send Kuwabara to Spirit World when Yusuke pops out the side, launching his spirit gun at him. Toguro easily jumps over it, but now, having him trapped in the air, Yusuke uses his shotgun to ensure a hit, but Toguro powers through each and every blast. He's offended that Yusuke thought that he couldn't even deflect a little bit of spirit energy, and Yusuke is shocked that he was able to deal with all of it with little to no effort. Yusuke decides to run up on him and dodges his swing, popping up right in front of Toguro's face for a spirit gun. But after the blast, Toguro's still standing, unscathed. Turns out Elder Toguro is able to turn into a shield as well, which completely protected him from the blast as he punches Yusuke off to the side. Now, both Yusuke and Kuwabara are injured, and Toguro just starts bullying them, starting off with Kuwabara, then putting their hands on Yusuke next. Tsurukune's having a blast, saying that he could just smell the money in his hands as Sakyo just sits there in silence. He's still whooping on Yusuke while Kuwabara is watching, thinking that he has to do something. He's got to make something shake if they want to leave alive. Over in Spirit World, Koema and Kurama are watching as he asks Koema if they're 100% the Toguro brothers. Koema confirms that they are as Kurama begins his leave, saying that he doesn't belong here. He's not a fan of just sitting and watching. He's gotta go do something. Tsurukune begins to bully Yukina, saying that these are just more humans that are gonna die because of her, just like, quote unquote, the last one. Kuwabara suddenly begins to see her memories. He's getting a view of her flashbacks of Yukina first being put in her cell. Tsurukune sets up these talisman which burn apparition's skin once they make contact in order to keep her from escaping. Later on, as she sat there in silence, one of the butlers ended up walking in to bring her some food as they start talking. He's feeling sympathy for her, saying that he has a younger sister who's probably just about her age. The next thing we see is him and Yukina preparing for an escape. Yukina doesn't actually want to go because she knows it'll put him in grave danger, but he doesn't care about any of that. He wants her to think about herself for once, so they make their escape. But as they're running through the mansion, he made a fatal error, thinking that Tsurukune was going to be out of the country, but instead, he's right there with two of his men staring him down as they start shooting and killing bro who tried to save her. Back to the present, Yusuke is still getting whooped on and Toguro's just having fun with himself. Suddenly, from the side, Kuwabara says, "Disgraceful. How can you even call yourself a man?" As we see him, his spirit energy is flowing around him many times more than ever before. Toguro tosses Yusuke to the side, saying that Kuwabara should prove to be much more fun than Yusuke ever has. But Kuwabara tells him to step aside. He's not worried about fighting Toguro, but Tsurukune instead. Tsurukune starts busting out laughing, saying that he's got too much money to be in there fighting, instructing Toguro to make this fight extra entertaining. Kuwabara rushes him, telling him to get out of his way as he starts attacking, but Toguro is blocking everything with his shield as he punches him back to where Yusuke and Botan are at. Suddenly, Kuwabara asks Yusuke for a favor. We don't get to hear exactly what it is, but both Botan and Yusuke are telling Kuwabara that this favor that he's asking him is way too risky. It's just gonna get Kuwabara killed, but he says he doesn't have a choice. After seeing what he's seen, the pain and torture that they put Yukina through, he has to do it. As he stands up, drawing his sword into a fighting stance, he screams, running towards Toguro as he raises his own sword. Kuwabara lunges towards him, but before Toguro can swing down his own sword, Yusuke shoots Kuwabara in the back with the spirit gun, launching him towards Toguro even faster, allowing him to stab him through the chest before Toguro could retaliate. As he falls to the ground, Tsurukune can't believe it. The Black Club begin to leave the call, saying that even though he was the one that founded it, they can't allow him to be in the Black Club no more. They can't associate with him. Beginning to stress, Tsurukune tells his men to initiate Plan B, making sure that nobody gets a hand on Yukina. But at the door stands Hiei. The men try and shoot him down, but he easily runs up on them, slicing up all three of them, leaving Tsurukune as the only one standing. He begins to talk to him, saying that he saw the talisman cards that were hung up around the tower, which explains why he wasn't able to find Yukina with his Jagan eye. That's why he was having so much trouble. He says that while he may have avoided it up until now, he can't avoid death forever. Tsurukune starts to panic like, whoa, chill, bruh. If it's the money that you want, I got you. That little bitch behind you, she makes jewels from her tears. You wouldn't believe it. We can make so much money out of her, we can make millions. But Hiei socks this nigga dead in his nose. Yusuke and Botan notice Hiei up there putting in work on Tsurukune. Botan says regardless of what Tsurukune did and how much he may deserve it, Hiei is still forbidden from taking human life. He'll be punished terribly. Yusuke yells for Hiei to stop, don't kill him, but Hiei says they're just afraid of true justice. He goes in for the final punch to kill him, but Yukina, of all people, grabs his arm, screaming for him to stop. He's confused, asking her, is this not the man who tortured you and made you his slave? She says that it is, but killing him won't wipe any of the pain away. It's something that she personally just has to deal with. And another death caused by her is only going to make the pain even worse. She's crying to him, begging for him to stop, as Hiei says that he understands he won't make her cry anymore. Tarukne is too worthless for that. She says that he looks sort of familiar. She just can't remember exactly who he is. Hiei tells her not to worry about it. He's just a part of the team. Out the back, we hear a voice saying, I guess I didn't need to come after all. Kurama was there watching the whole time, making sure Hiei didn't end up killing him. He asks Hiei why he didn't tell her that she has a brother, saying that she deserves to know, but Hiei says that's the way that he wants it. What she truly deserves is to just be happy. While things may seem like they're making a change for the better, in the next video, they're about to get much worse. Unfortunately, Yusuke's true fight with Toguro hasn't even begun.